Chapter 19. He broke into a sprint, launching himself forward. He gritted his sharp teeth and punched right into someone's arm, but the arm blocked his punch without a problem. Not deterred, he shot his leg against the head of his opponent, trying to end the fight with a knockout. His plan was interrupted when the other hand of his attacker took a hold of his leg. The next seconds were a blur. He felt himself fly through the air with the speed of a bullet and then halt immediately when a rock got in his way, making him gasp in pain and fall on his ass. He shook his head and looked at the silhouette of his attacker. He snarled at him, his fangs growing sharper and his spiky hair becoming even spikier. In an instant, his body grew larger and his skin was covered in golden fur. He roared to the heavens and charged again. He raised his fist and delivered a powerful punch against his opponent, cracking the earth beneath him. Jade Eyes looked at him mockingly when the dust finally cleared. His mouth was twisted into a faint smirk. His opponent once again took a hold of him and began to slam him against the ground multiple times as if he weighed nothing. This continued until he could no longer move a muscle. Even though he was badly hurt, his fighting spirit never wavered. He attempted to get up in vain, but his muscles were in too much pain. His opponent laughed at his determination, not mocking him, but pleased with his willingness to get up. The last thing he knew before blacking out was his opponent jumping insanely high and a flash of him falling on his chest with brutal force. G.L.D. Garfield. His vision began to return to him when he felt water splash against his body. He tried to get up but found that his body wouldn't answer him. Great fight, Garfield. You're getting better at controlling your beast form, Naruto said, watching the blonde boy slowly regain his consciousness. He grabbed his arm, wrapping it around his neck and his shoulder as he lifted him to his feet. Fuck. That hurt. You hit me hella hard, Captain, Garfield said, his face twisted with pain. Naruto had to laugh at him. He was the one who told him to not go easy on him. Anyways, that was a good fight. You're certainly improving, he smiled. It's been 4 months and I'm not getting any closer to beating you though. But even if you can't beat me, you haven't given up. That is the best way to grow stronger, and who knows? Maybe in some years, you'll be able to surpass me. You're very young right now, give yourself time to grow. The two blondes grabbed their shirts and walked until they reached the Malode mansion. When he told Naruto that he needed help to control his beast form, the blonde said that he understood his situation and made him use it. He was very afraid at the beginning, but his captain said he could handle it, so they began their training. He now could enter his beast form at will and control it as long as he remained calm. That was a disadvantage on itself, because he needed the rush of adrenaline his anger gave him to fight properly in his beast form, but that was a work in progress. Several minutes later, they made it to their new mansion, surrounded by many trees. Shrubs grew in abundance throughout the verdant mountains. They felt the cool breeze wash over their bangs as they found a blue-haired maid waiting for their return. Welcome back, Naruto-kun and Garfield-san. How was your training? Ram asked politely with a smile. It was great. Naruto smirked as he looked at Garfield. He's getting better faster than I expected. Damn right, I am. Garfield yelled in determination, but he quickly held his stomach in pain. He's quite a stubborn guy. I'll give him that. Naruto said as he looked at Remington. Rem, where's Amelia? She's inside studying the candidates in the office room. Do you want me to inform her you're looking for her? She asked. Nah, it's better to let her study, he said as he looked up when a pink-haired maid walked outside a room. Hello there, Ram. Hello, Naruto and Garfield. Ram said as she approached them only to recoil when their smells hit her. She covered her nose and mouth with her hand. You two stink. You need a bath. When Garfield was going to complain, Ram smacked him with a broom. She now wore a white mask. Where did she get that? He didn't know. He was going to take a bath since he knew he smelled damn Jinchuriki senses. He was heading there, but he stopped when he noticed Rem staring at him. Her face was red and she was fidgeting. It made him wonder why. Rem? Are you okay? Naruto asked as he approached her, snapping his fingers to wake her up. Sorry, Naruto-kun. Forgive me for staring at you. Rem paused. She couldn't hide her embarrassment while staring at his body. Did something happen to my body? Naruto asked as he looked for some sort of injury. And nothing happened. You should go to the bathroom, Ram said as he nodded and walked to another room. She caught a glimpse of his back before he went inside. Huh. Since when did Naruto have a tattoo? She looked at the black circle-like marking above 9 Magatamas. Man, that felt so good. Naruto said as he finished taking a shower. He wore his usual orange pants, but he's shirtless because he needed to dry up. It's been 4 months since the trials finished and the demi-humans were finally able to return to society. The people of Erlem went to the capital and reunited with their families, then returned to their normal lives. They all thanked Naruto, Emilia, and the children cried when they found out that they wouldn't be around anymore. Thankfully all of them were evacuated when the archbishops attacked. Many of them were slightly injured because of their hasty evacuation, but there were no casualties, not one, except Crush. Naruto sighed in defeat when he began to blame himself again. He shook his head and walked toward the bed to grab his black shirt. When he's about to put it on, he furrowed his brow when he notices his back has a 6 Paths Senjutsu tattoo on. Huh. Since when did I have that, Kurama? Naruto said mentally as he began to examine his tattoo. If it's popping up without you activating your senjutsu, it must be because you are accumulating too much 6 Paths and Bija chakra and not using it. Remember that the 4th Hokage seal acts as a filter for our chakra, and since you have had all 9 of us sealed here all this time while generating more 6 Paths chakra, you are risking becoming a 10-tails Jinchuriki by emerging too much of our chakra, at least in theory. Damn it, do I have to worry about it? Don't worry, it isn't dangerous, but it can cause you to lose control over your chakra or worse, merges into the 10-tails, so I recommend you expel the accumulated energy from time to time, unless you want more changes in your body or ours. The tattoo is permanent though, so I recommend you get used to it. Kurama said, noticing Naruto's worry. What do you mean permanent? Do you have any idea what my mom would do to me if I went to the pure world with a tattoo? Naruto yelled in panic. Calm down. I'll explain it in simple terms. If you don't stop to accumulate and merge these energies, you'll end up looking like Madara, Obito, or Kagaya. You'll have white skin, you'll grow horns, your hair will become white and ridiculously long, probably, and you'll also probably get extra eyes. Not to mention the danger we are in of merging again. Kurama said in exasperation. He did get a little satisfaction when he saw Naruto's skin begin to pale in fear. Naruto calmed down enough to ponder these words. Kurama was right, but what was he supposed to do? Blast the moon from time to time? That would attract unnecessary attention to him and the Bijas, and that was the one thing he didn't want. This mess was his fault. The Bijas he wanted to protect were now in danger because of him. The sealed Bijas reminded him of Sadella and brought about another set of problems altogether. His head began to hurt. He decided to leave this for another time. You're still going to save her, aren't you? I have to, Kurama. I know Sadella didn't do it. Speaking of which, does this situation remind you of something, Kurama? Yes, that was a long time ago and I don't want to talk about it. But do you believe someone is responsible for giving the witch factor to Sadella? Or making her lose control over it? Kurama asked, sounding serious. He could relate to that, if it were true. Wow, Kurama. Shikaku said amazed as he gave a round of applause. He tried to hold his laugh, imagining an orange fox with detective clothes. Looks like we have Detective Kurama doing an investigation. Bitch, you need to shut the fuck up. I'm serious about this. Kurama yelled. Naruto laughed at them. It seemed they would get into another brawl. That was okay, he needed to rest from these problems anyway. It wasn't long before he heard a knock on his door. Who is it? He asked. It's me. Naruto put his shirt on, walked toward the door, and opened it. Hello, Emilia. Are you done with your studies? He asked with a smile. Yes, thank goodness, I've been studying all day. I think I'm getting better at understanding my role as a candidate. Emilia said with a smile. Naruto noticed there was a gift in her arms, but he frowned at her when she moved the gift behind her. Emilia let out a giggle at his face. She slipped past him, waving her finger at him. The silver-haired girl sat on the bed and patted it with her hand, telling Naruto to sit with her. He did what she asked him and sat next to her. This is for you, Naruto. Emilia said as she handed him the little box in her hands. For me? He asked as he grabbed the present and opened it. This is... He picked a black string with a blue gem on it. He received a similar necklace from Granny Tsunade when he was 13 years old. He couldn't believe how much attention to detail the thing had. It was the first thing Emilia gifted him. It was very thoughtful of her. Since you brought me a hairpin, I wanted to do the same for you. Emilia smiled as she touched her butterfly hairpin. I wanted us to remember each other. She grabbed his hand and grasped it. Emilia grabbed Naruto's new necklace and wrapped it around his neck. She moved back to her sitting place and looked at him. You look perfect, she said. Thank you, Emilia. Naruto smiled as he leaned in forward to kiss his girlfriend on her lips. This is a very nice gift. But his smile suddenly faded, making Emilia worried. What's wrong? Emilia asked, but she got no answer. So, she decided to sit on her knees on the floor, pulling his hand to make him sit down with her as she grabbed his head and placed it on her lap. She knew something had been plaguing his thoughts after he came back from the tomb. Naruto, you seem very stressed as of late, why don't you relax with me for a while? I never get stressed. I was exhausted from training with you, Rem, Beatrice, and Garfield. I can tell that you're overwhelming yourself with work just by looking at you. Could you trust me with more details about what's going on? Even if I don't think I can put you at ease with just this. There's nothing else I can do, after all. As her boyfriend, he didn't want to hurt her feelings and cause her to worry. Ever since he touched foot on this world, things just seemed to pop up everywhere he went. Witches, archbishops, demon beasts, his home, his recent problems with not only his 6 paths, but with the bijou as well. That last one was just the last nail in the coffin. He promised Sadella that he would find her and free her from the seal, so that they can find the person that is responsible for doing this to her, that by the way, if he learned anything from this world, was most likely still alive. Yeah, I guess I'm a little stressed. Naruto answered softly, closing his eyes when Emilia began to stroke his head. I know you are stressed, but something tells me there's a particular reason why. May I try to guess, if you don't mind? Emilia asked. Sure, hit it. Is it about me? No, you did nothing wrong. Is it about Crush? Nope. Is it about Sadella? Yes. Naruto answered as he gritted his teeth softly. He hated that every time he saw her he immediately thought of the seal Sadella was kept in. I'm so sorry, Emilia, I can't stop thinking about her. It was just dash. Naruto, I'm not angry with you, I understand perfectly why you are getting restless about it. Emilia said with the same smile as she continued to stroke his hair. But you're not alone. She is safe in her seal, so you don't have to worry about her. She's been there longer than you and I have existed, I'm sure that she can wait a little more. Besides, you have us to worry about too, don't let this keep you down, we worry about you. Emilia. Naruto said softly as he got up from her lap, looking into her amethyst eyes. She's right, he needed to stop trying to solve all these things at once, he needed to relax a little. Thank you, Emilia. You're the best girlfriend in the world. I know, right? They looked at each other for a second and began to laugh, the atmosphere felt a lot lighter now. As they slowly calmed down, they decided to keep each other company for a while. Naruto, do you remember when I broke down after I failed my first trial? She asked as she leaned in against his shoulder, holding his hand. What happened to Emilia-sama? She didn't make it through her test, I'll explain later. Help me set up the bed. She needs to rest. I already did. Let me dash. No. Emilia-sama? Oh no. Emilia, calm down. Naruto. Help me. I didn't mean it. Naruto. Naruto remembered it as well, it hurt him to remember her in that state. Yeah, I remember. What do you want to tell me? I know this sounds crazy. But when I remembered my past, I met you in Elier Forest. Really? I met you. Emilia nodded as she stood up and sat on his lap. Pulling Naruto's arms around her body, she rested her head against his chest. I don't know, but I remember you and I became friends. You were my first friend, at least until I did horrible things when you left. I fought bandits until a demon beast appeared and killed several of them. I had to do something, so I helped the bandits, but a demon beast chased me. And then, you came back to me, but... My magic suddenly attacked the bandits and you. I hurt you because I couldn't control my magic. I was so scared and I didn't know how to stop my magic until Puck helped me. I thought you would run away from me, but you didn't. Even after I hurt you, you came back to me and helped me up. I asked you if you were afraid of me, but you suddenly transformed in me. Then, you brought me back to my home and took care of me. Naruto blinked several times. He was processing the information just given to him. That dream sounded like what a person did for her, but she somehow processed that memory to look like him, maybe? Then, Meliquera came to me. He's the great spirit of fire. He told me everything about why everyone hates me. I was breaking down until you came back to me again. After you heard everything about me, you didn't care what I was. However, Meliquera wasn't too happy to see us showing our friendship. You defeated him to protect me. Finally, that's the last time I saw you because you vanished. You or he erased my memories to keep me safe. What? He erased your memories? At this point, Naruto was expulsing smoke out of his ears. As far-fetched and confusing as her story sounded, he was inclined to believe her. The worst part was, he didn't know why. He had been studying the multiverse theory, as complicated as that was, in hopes of a way to go back to his dimension, but, as far as the theory went, he ended up in one of the infinite universes, making him incapable of finding his home. But this brought another question: had he met Emilia before? Or maybe, another him? The smoke coming out of his ears tripled in size, and his eyes began to spin. His brain reached critical levels. Naruto? Are you okay? She saw his face go red instantly for no reason, at least to her. I'm fine. Naruto smiled, catching his breath to calm down. Please stay with me. I don't want to be alone. I'm sorry, but my friends need me. I know your life will be difficult, but I promise you that I will come back to you. Or someone like me will come here. Listen. I have to go. Wait. Please. Don't leave me. Forgive me, Emilia. I hate doing this to you, but I promise you they won't hurt you. Until we meet again, you will remember me, I promise. God damn it. Even when he was doing nothing, this damned problems found him. He needed to reflect on this new information and ask the Bijus for their thoughts on this new set of memories. I'm okay. It's no big deal. You were very stressed that day. Maybe this dream was a hallucination. I wouldn't think about it too much. He said. Okay. Emilia said as she put her hands on his face, tracing his whiskers with her fingers. She's still worried about Naruto and wanted to make sure he's okay. Naruto closed his eyes as he felt her fingers trace his whiskers and smiled at her. He loved it when Emilia stroked his whisker. It felt great, strangely enough. Naruto, do you remember me? Meeting me back in Forest Elier? Was that you? Emilia asked softly, hoping it was him, hoping she wasn't going insane. Naruto shook his head slowly as he couldn't remember meeting her in the Elier forest. I'm sorry, I don't remember meeting you in your homeland. His voice was soft, he didn't want to hurt her in any way. Oh. What a bummer. She said sadly, but she smiled at him as she held his hand. But, I'm happy I met you. I'm happy too. Naruto smiled as he accepted her hand and pulled her into a passionate kiss. They stayed there for a couple of minutes until they let go of each other. Their eyes were locked on each other, azure eyes met amethyst. Emilia wrapped her boyfriend's neck with her arms, but they snaked down to his chest and touched it with her hands. Her heart started beating faster and she seemed to have lost control for a second. Naruto blinked when he noticed his girlfriend's dazed state. Emilia? He asked as the half-elf finally snapped out of whatever trance she was in. Sorry, it's my first time touching a man's body. She said awkwardly as she moved her hands up his loose shirt. He began to blush as well, but pulled her closer to him. And Naruto? Her face turned scarlet when he claimed her lips. He and Emilia began to kiss, and their hands began wandering inappropriate places, but before things could get truly heated, a knock on the door interrupted their moment. Who is it? Naruto asked, his face returning to its normal color. He had a slight frown on his face. He was a little annoyed to be interrupted in the middle of their time together. It's me, Petra. Is Emilia-sama with you? Immediately his frown disappeared. There was no way he could ever be annoyed with Petra of all people. Yes, she's here. Naruto said as he stood up, not before kissing his girl one last time, and walked toward the door, opening it for Petra. What is it? We have a guest. They're a little kitty girl and a boy with a monocle? She tried to give the best description she could come up with. It was quite cute. Naruto widened his eyes in surprise. He didn't expect Mimi to come visit. He looked back to Emilia, who perked up at the familiar name too. She walked toward the door and nodded to him. They told Petra to let them inside. Petra ran ahead of them after she got her orders from Naruto and Emilia. The two walked together looking forward to seeing the cute demi-human. Oni-san. Oni-san. It's been forever. Have you been well? Mimi asked with an energetic tone, hopping up and down when she saw Naruto open the door for her. Without warning, she jumped high and hugged him. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at her as she crawled up until she reached the top of his head. Hello there, Mimi. It's been a while. I see you're full of energy as always. He said while rubbing the girl's head. Yup. I'm super duper full of energy. And I even grew bigger, now I'm an adult. Mimi said as she looked at Emilia who came behind him. Hello there, Emilia Onisama. Hello there, Mimi. What brings you here? She asked with a gentle smile. I'm inviting you to a party. My lady said let's all hang out. Remember Anastasia? So here I am to invite you. I'm super excited. Super excited. She was so excited that she began to pull on his hair. He didn't mind, he could barely register it. Naruto looked at Emilia with a surprised expression. Why would Anastasia invite them to her party? More importantly, even though Emilia is a candidate, she is a silver-haired half-elf, not exactly the person you wanted in your party, as wrong as that was, so why would she invite them? A party invitation from Anastasia? What's going on? Naruto asked. He didn't get the best impression from Anastasia the first time they encountered. Well, it's pretty normal for politicians wanting votes or other favors to host parties to exchange business and hopefully secure more votes at the same time. Emilia said with a thoughtful expression, recalling the books she read about this particular topic. That's why she got interrupted by a very excited Kitty. I don't know. She didn't say it, but I'm excited to eat a lot of food. Mimi said. Oh. I forgot to tell you that I brought my company here too. I'm alone being Joshua's bodyguard? Bodyguard? Naruto corrected her gently. Bodyguard. Thank you, Oni-san. She said as she crawled on his shoulder, nuzzling on his cheek as both of them laughed at each other. Hey. What are you? Are you a demi-human too because you have whiskers? Those are my birthmarks, Mimi. I am human. He smiled at her pouting face. Well, he couldn't exactly qualify as a human since he had his DNA rearranged by his bijou, hence his whiskers, and he was part alien due to his ascendancy with Hagoromo, but explaining that to Mimi would be hell, so he didn't. Who is Joshua? He's Julius's younger brother. I didn't expect him to come here instead of Julius. Emilia said before she saw the young man coming out of the carriage. He has long, light purple hair that he ties into a ponytail. He had yellow eyes that slant upward. He wears expensive-looking clothes and a monocle, making him give off a scholar like an aura. He quickly approached them and bowed to Emilia. Hello, Emilia-sama. It's been quite a while since we last saw each other. He spoke as he finally got up from his position. He immediately noticed there was an unknown, blonde person with spiky hair. He dressed like a common civilian, with black and orange clothes and orange pants, but his aura screamed warrior. I don't believe we have met before, but I had a feeling my brother Julius met you. Yes, they met at the capital. This is my knight, Naruto Uzumaki. I see. I remember now, my brother told me about you. My name is Joshua Julius. Julius's younger brother, but I guess I already said that. Nice to meet you. Please, come on in. After meeting Mimi and Joshua, they sat on the couch in the living room. They drank the tea Rem offered. When they no longer needed her, she stood next to Naruto, on guard for anything suspicious. Beatrice, who was in the living room before their guests showed up, was with them. She was being pampered right now by Naruto. Naruto had one of his arms looped around her waist while his other gently massaged her scalp. Now then, what do you want to talk? They already discussed this with Mimi, but they guessed she was just too excited to tell them since she had no idea of why Anastasia was even making the party. Please wait. Who is this girl? Joshua winded up too flustered to talk as he pointed at Beatrice and leaned forward, forcefully making his monocle slip. Naruto blinked in confusion at Joshua's reaction when he noticed Beatrice. He thought this guy would be a very serious person by looking at him, but he's not. He hated thinking bad things about Julius's brother, but Joshua was weird. Honestly, he would prefer Julius to come visit instead of him. My name is Beatrice. I am Naruto's contracted artificial spirit Kashira. Beatrice introduced herself absent-mindedly, she was too preoccupied with her book and his petting. I see. You're a spirit. Joshua said with a sigh of relief. Hey, guest, you got a problem with our captain having a spirit with him? Garfield asked with a dangerous tone, crossing his arms as he sat on the chair next to Naruto. No, it's nothing important. It just surprised me that Naruto is a spirit knight. As I'm sure you know, my brother is a spirit knight himself. The title is so rare that you could call him the only holder in the nation, at least, until now. Really? I'm guessing that means he has an artificial spirit. Naruto said with curiosity. I heard that there was another knight who uses spirits. What an odd turn of fate for it to be your brother Kashira. Beatrice said, paying more attention now that she was the focus of the conversation. What do you mean by odd turn of fate, spirit? Joshua asked. It's obvious what I mean, no yo. Precursors are destined to be excelled Kashira. His best place is as an ornament on the glorious road that Naruto and I unhaha. Hey, that is very disrespectful to him. Just because you believe I'm stronger than him doesn't mean I want to get a victory. Naruto said as he messed up Beatrice's hair and bowed his head to Joshua. He was pushing Beatrice's head into a bow as well. I'm sorry about Beatrice's behavior. Julius and I have had no problems in the past. I would never do any harm to your brother. An admirable and correct judgment. When comparing yourself to my brother, it's natural to recognize your inferiority. Huh. Naruto was trying to be the mature one here, but Joshua's abrupt arrogance made a tick mark on his forehead. Joshua talked a lot about his brother Julius. He spoke with passion and his face began to turn red the more he talked. Naruto had no reply, and Beatrice recoiled in disgust. Garfield and Rem stayed silent, unsure whether this could get worse, and Mimi was too busy stuffing her cheeks with snacks to even register the conversation. Even the bijou in his mindscape didn't like him, they were thinking of a way to murder this guy. But not everyone in the room wanted to rip the man's tongue off. Hee hee. Joshua, you love your brother Julius so much. Amelia said with a smile, clearly taking his words as that of casual admiration. Her words made Joshua realize what he just said, and his face reddened in shame rather than excitement. He cleared his throat, managing to compose himself. Naruto dropped his jaw, looking dumbfounded at Amelia. Was she enjoying his story? He looked at the others to see them with unbelieving faces as well. He had to do something. Hey, why don't you skip your story? I want to know why you're here, please? At this point, he wanted this man out of his life, right now. Right. I forgot about that. Joshua said as he put his hand in his pocket. He withdrew a letter and set it on the table. He opened it, looked down at the letters and their black ink, and began to read. Anastasia-sama wishes to invite yourself and all of your associates to the city of Pristella. An invitation to Pristella City. Pristella is the Watergate City, yes? The big city near the border between the Kingdom of Lubnica and the Kararaji city-states. You are correct. Anastasia-sama is presently sojourning there, rather than the capital, and she wishes to invite you. Joshua said. He was now back to his serious self, but one could see him squirm under all their stares. Amelia looked away from him and glanced at Naruto. She wanted him to share his thoughts before accepting Anastasia's invitation. Naruto felt conflicted about the whole thing. Everyone knows that Anastasia is staying in a mansion in the capital's noble district while she's in Lubnica. When Mimi mentioned an invitation to a party, Naruto was certain it would be to that mansion. If Naruto remembered this right, Anastasia was particularly harsh on Amelia during the explanations in the palace. The candidates most unsparing toward Amelia were her and Priscilla. Crush didn't seem to care about her race, and felt is in Amelia's debt. Anastasia did help during the White Whale, but his opinion was still the same. Who was to say that she didn't do it just to save face? Anastasia-sama invites you out of her beneficence. She has noticed the valuable object you are searching for in Pristella. Joshua said, no doubt trying to sweeten the deal. I'm sorry, but I already have it with me. Amelia smiled, touching the white butterfly hairpin Naruto gave to her. Naruto brought it for me. This hairpin is special to me, and I don't want to replace it. She placed it on her chest right against her heart. She wasn't going to replace the hairpin for no reason. It symbolized the changes in her life. It reminded her of the person who, for no reason other than the goodness of his heart, stood by her side unconditionally, the person she was beginning to imagine a future with. It meant so much more for her than even Naruto himself could realize. She wasn't going to lose it or give it away, or even replace it. Joshua was surprised that Amelia declined the invitation and the valuable object she was searching for in Pristella. For sure, Anastasia gave him the right information about Amelia's apparent objective, but it seemed like she had changed her mind because of reasons that she ignored. He was about to try and make her change her mind, but Amelia did that for him. But, even if I already have something much more valuable than what Anastasia wanted to bribe me with, I accept your invitation. Amelia said with a serious voice. Even if she didn't want to go, this was a very obvious political move. It would look bad on her as a candidate to not assist a party made specifically for such individuals. Besides, maybe she could make a political move herself, who knew? After all the right people were going to be at the party, she had nothing to lose. I see. That's why you want to bring Frederica and Garfield to Pristella. Permission granted. Roswell sang with a smile, looking at Naruto, who was now fully dressed in his night uniform. Yes, their mother is in Pristella. My clone already looked for her in the city and confirmed it. Their similarities are undeniable. They now have the chance they wanted, hopefully it's for the best. Naruto said with a worried expression. No need to worry, I'm very positive that even if the event is sour, their lives will be less stressful now. Roswell said as he looked at Amelia and the others packing their stuff to leave to Pristella. Then, he looked back to Naruto with narrowed eyes. I can trust that you'll look after them? You can count on me. Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. Their relationship had patched up somewhat and they now weren't at each other's throat. That fight had something to do with it, he was sure. The good news was, Roswell was now out of bed and fully capable of defending himself, so now Ram gave him less glares than before and even spoke to him sometimes, so that was improving. On that note, Anastasia's subordinates left for Pristella first to tell Anastasia that her invitation was accepted. So, Naruto and his group stayed behind to get ready before leaving. Otto, how long does it take us to Pristella? Naruto asked, looking at the familiar driver. This person is one that took them to the capital after the witch cult attacked. He joined Amelia's camp 4 months ago to assist Amelia and Naruto. He liked the guy a lot and all the boys sometimes went to drink to the pub when they had the time, moderately. Of course, he didn't want the eyes of his mother burning on the back of his skull, nor Amelia's for that matter. She gave him a very stern talking when she found Garfield laughing like an idiot due to being drunk and a passed out Otto on his shoulder. He found out that the guy had very bad luck, but he was able to negate it with his good luck, and some of Garfield's, until something unfortunate happened and he seemed to make his luck 10 times worse, but they always got out safe, so it was okay. He would never forget when they had to deliver some ducks and a tiger was in the carriage for some reason. The look on his face was priceless. Garfield ate that tiger. Now that he remembered, he was very drunk. It will take us over 10 days to get there, even if we hurry. The party isn't soon either way, so let's relax and take our time. Otto answered with a bored tone. He already had everything in his carriage since he was a merchant and all that. Wow, that's pretty far. Naruto widened his eyes in surprise at how far Pristella was. Sure, he received his clone's memories, but he sometimes couldn't measure how fast he was in comparison to this world's transportations. So, that meant that Mimi traveled 10 days just to get here. He felt bad now. No wonder the little girl ate like crazy. I'm surprised that they came all the way here just to deliver an invitation. Garfield said. Indeed, that's pretty far. Frederica said. Considering the carriage's load, we will have an earth dragon and ground dragon pull the carriage. And since we plan not to camp anywhere, we should be fine with only the bare minimum of emergency supplies. Otto said. However, there's a chance we will encounter beast demons on the road. I am hoping you and Garfield can do the jobs for us. That's no problem. Me and Captain can Captain? Garfield looked at Naruto who had a thoughtful look on his face. Naruto began to glow golden. He summoned a very large fox. This fox was barely larger than a carriage. What is that? Otto yelled in panic, pointing his finger at the fox. About damn time. I could use an exercise. Kurama said as he stretched his arms and legs. After he did that, he looked at Naruto, wondering why he called him to come out. So, what's up? Oh. It was nothing, we are going to Pristella. I was hoping I could use your help to take us there. Could you do that for us? Naruto asked. Kurama sighed in disappointment. There weren't any giant monsters around. He was a little bored, but he had nothing better to do. The fox nodded, accepting Naruto's request to take them for Pristella. The fox opened his mouth and ate Naruto's friends inside his yellow chakra neck. Before he could begin to run, his mood turned sour when he saw a little girl in maid clothes, running toward him with an adorable smile. "Hi, Kurama-kun." Petra greeted loudly with a happy tone, waving her hand at the gigantic fox. "Are you here to play with me? Can I touch your tail?" "No, child. And stop addressing me with such confidence," Kurama said, almost yelling at Petra. He could feel Naruto's annoyance through their link, so he breathed calmly and used a gentle voice. "I'm not here to play with you, little child. I'm here to take Naruto and his friends to an important meeting." Their little story was quite a sweet one. Petra accepted Kurama for who he was in their first meeting even with all his grumpiness. The fox didn't know how to react to the unconditional love of someone who could lift him like a puppy, so he ran from her almost always. He almost always ended up hurting her only to regret it immediately and allow her to do anything she desired with him. Their interactions were like comedic sketches. "Ah. I really want to play with you, Kurama-kun. See, can I hug you before you leave? Please." Petra begged with puppy eyes. The gigantic fox couldn't help it, but he bent down to allow her to hug him. His eyes began to burn an ominous scarlet when his brothers called him whipped. Damn them. He'll kill them later after he finished his mission. God damn it. I can't believe what I'm going to say. Kurama thought as he looked at Petra. Human child. When I come back, I promise you can ride on my back, if you work hard. Petra beamed and looked at Kurama with an unsure smile. Ah, really? Thank you, Kurama-kun. She hugged the fox again and kissed on his nose, making his eyes shine with unadulterated rage at his brothers. Not Petra though, he kinda liked to have someone looking out for him like that. It was sweet of her, not that he'd admit it. Ah, did that little girl embarrass you? Naruto asked with a playful look. Shut up. I only do this for her. Just once. Kurama yelled. He didn't need Naruto teasing him as well. Naruto wasted no time and immediately camouflaged Kurama with his invisibility jutsu, and they took off. He was going to pick up Mimi and Joshua and bring them along. He would explain Kurama as an air spirit that used the wind to be faster, so that they didn't have to go all the way back. Upon their arrival, Naruto and the others were greeted by towering walls. He thanked Kurama for giving them a ride and deactivated his Bija mode, leaving it far enough so that they wouldn't be spotted. He left Anastasia's associates far enough so that they wouldn't be seen being carried by a spirit. They quickly entered the walls of the city. As they arrived at the front wall, they found the gates of Pristella in front of them. Before they could enter, they had to sign their names and get the officer's approval. However, the officers panicked a little once Emilia introduced herself. This pissed him off and things were about to get physical. Luckily though, Emilia managed to calm him down. I'm sorry, Emilia. I can't help it. Naruto said with some remorse. It's okay, Naruto. I understand you're trying to protect me. She used her thumbs to turn his mouth upwards, making him understand that everything was okay. Beatrice, Rem, and Otto finished signing their names, but not Frederica and Garfield. Since Garfield couldn't write very well, he had his sister Frederica help him. Man, you need to learn how to write. Naruto said with a sweat drop. The teen knew how to write, it was just that his handwriting was so horrible it just came out like gibberish, and that was saying something coming from him. My bad. I was a dumb kid and didn't want to study. Garfield said with a huff as he crossed his arms. They entered the front gate to find a river flowing between the exterior gates and through the middle of the city. They crossed the stone bridge over the river, the inner gates opened, and Pristella revealed itself. Naruto sighed in astonishment at the sight unfolding before him. Now, this is an amazing sight. He couldn't even describe it, but he isn't the only one reacting like this. His reaction was quite tame considering he had been here before, at least his clone. Emilia, Rem, and Beatrice, who were standing on either of him, also expressed their astonishment. Frederica and Garfield had the same expression. Ignoring the view, its shape was essentially that of a sports arena. The outer rim was the most elevated, and the elevation began dropping the closer you got to the center. It brought questions since he wasn't familiar with this design, but his trained mind felt it served another purpose. He didn't know which though. It was no use questioning these things. Maybe the answer lay in a book or something. Even after seeing it before, he couldn't believe how beautiful this scenery was. Large canals run through the town, with notably massive canals dividing the circular city into 4 even sections. Again, he had never seen such beauty in one place, maybe because his world was more preoccupied with getting resources to finance the next war. This is amazing. I've never seen a city with a river like this. Naruto said. Yeah, this is stunning. So Otto wasn't just spouting bullshit. Garfield recovered from the shock first and rubbed the tip of his nose. This city is so beautiful, Ram said as she looked to the right and saw markets selling foods, jewels, and clothes. Naruto slowly redirected his gaze to where someone peers over at their group. She has a fur dress and an eye-catching fox scarf. Kurama didn't like that, it was insulting to his power. Long, wavy violet hair and aquamarine eyes. She had a pleasant smile on her charming face, her figure was that of a child. Been some time since I last saw you. Many thanks to you for coming all the way. Figured, the journey's worn you out. How does it say we spend time relaxing inside, then chat? Anastasia asked. Thanks for welcoming us in person, it really makes me feel at ease. And we would love to relax first. Amelia said politely, she almost vomited when Kurama began to speed up, they couldn't even see their surroundings. Anastasia cast a frown at Naruto, probably pondering the origins of her companions. Garfield was standing next to him, Beatrice was clinging to his sleeve, Frederica is standing next to Garfield, supposedly to be his big sister, and Rem was positively one of Roswell's maids. Her gaze left Naruto for Amelia, she noticed her hand was holding Naruto's. It seemed like they're already in a relationship, this surprised her. Uzumaki-kun, I heard that you killed the Hakugi and the Sloths and Archbishop. I'm impressed that you defended Roswell's border territories. Anastasia spoke to Amelia as the silver-haired girl approached her. Yes, I see you've heard of me too. I did what had to be done. I have to admit that you have fine companions on your side, they fought well against the Hakugi. She said. Thanks. Now, please follow me. Long time no see, Amelia-sama. I sincerely apologize for being late. I should have been the first to welcome you. Julius said as he arrived in the hotel Anastasia led them to, and bowed before Amelia with respect. It's been a while, Julius. You look like you're doing well. Amelia said with a cordial smile. I am grateful for your consideration. Likewise, Amelia-sama's kindness and beauty are ever the more polished. It's as if the shade of your gaze alone strengthens this kingdom, while the rest of the world suffers a loss. Julius said as he turned to Naruto now, looking at the knight uniform he wears. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk. I see you are formerly Amelia's knight. Yo, Sir Julius. It's been a while, and yes, I am now officially Sir Uzumaki. Naruto joked as he and Julius shook their hands respectfully. You know, I didn't see you at the hunt for the Hakugi. I was going to speak with you about it, but it seems like you have your hands full. My apologies for not arriving sooner, I cannot leave Anastasia's side. But now I'm here, what is your question? Oh yes. I heard of a nation I wanted to visit, it's called Kararaji. Do you know anything about it? Yes, this is where Anastasia and Ricardo are from. Kararaji is one of the 4 great nations of the world. It's on the east. Thank you, Julius. Oh, where are my manners? I want you to meet my friends. Naruto said as he introduced him to his friends. I want you to meet Garfield, Frederica, Rem, and Beatrice. After Naruto introduced Julius to his friends, Julius greeted them all until his eyes stopped on Beatrice, who met his gaze steadily with her own eyes. What is it? You shouldn't stare too hard at a lady Kashira. Beatrice said, noticing his gaze. That was terribly rude of me. I didn't expect a high-level spirit like you would be present here. He said. I'm Naruto's partner, it's only natural that I be here. Beatrice said with a grumpy voice, she stood with her hands on Naruto's shirt and her chest puffed up. She didn't insult the man since Naruto had a good amount of respect for him, and she knew Julius had been nothing but welcoming to her master, so he was okay. Naruto facebombed, Beatrice was being grumpy again, he could understand why though, Joshua had pissed her off with his comments about them being inferior to Julius, but there was no need for her to unleash her frustration on him. Beatrice, come on, there's no need to act so grumpy against Julius. Naruto said as he patted her head to calm her down. Fine. It's nice to meet you, Kashira. She averted her eyes and puffed her cheeks when Julius chuckled at her expression. Sorry about Beatrice acting so rude toward you. She gets overprotective and can't handle people thinking they're stronger than me. Naruto said with a slight bow, remembering that everything he did reflected on Amelia as his master. Julius chuckled at the bond between Naruto and his spirit. Sorry, it's nice to meet you too, Beatrice. I have to admit it, Naruto, you have a very strong spirit on your side. Amelia-sama, I must admit you have a fine knight. Speaking of which, I've heard your knight killed Hakugi and sloths and Archbishop. He said as he looked at Emilia for confirmation. Yes, the rumors are correct. And thank you, I'm happy that I chose Naruto as my knight. Emilia said while smiling at her boyfriend as she held his hand. I see you two are in a love relationship. I had no idea you two were together, but I wish you the best. Julius said. Naruto, if I'm correct, you should have met my younger brother by now. Yes, I'm surprised you have a brother. He sure talked with us about you. A lot. Naruto gave an awkward chuckle, the man wouldn't shut up about Julius. I don't mean to be rude. He talked about you a lot, so I can only guess he loves his big brother, a lot. He clasped his hand over Beatrice's mouth when he felt she was going to make a sarcastic remark. Indeed, he does. He's not a child well suited for excessive travel. Frustratingly, I hold several concerns about him as his older brother. Julius said as he began to show his worry about his little brother, Joshua. Hey, I'm sure your younger brother is fine. He's safe with Ricardo. Thank you for being kind to me. Perhaps you're right. Oh, make too. After gathering all the new students in the classroom, they were all seated at their desks. Kazuma and his group were seated in the first row on the right. Tanya and her comrades were seated in the middle. Ains and his demon gang were seated in the second row. Naruto and his friends were seated in the third row. What's wrong, Kazuma? You're looking nervous? Darkness asked in worry as she looked at the brown-haired boy who was sweating while staring at the blonde man in the back row. Meanwhile, Kazuma couldn't get over what his eyes were showing him. He never got to the end of the manga since he died before its completion, but this was without a doubt one of his favorite shonen protagonists. He's definitely real. I can't believe he's real. I ain't going back to my homeland until I take a picture with him. Kazuma thought. Ains looked at Kazuma, who looked like he's about to pass away. But what surprised him was Naruto Uzumaki. Ains was also a fan of the manga, it was revered as one of the classics on his time, despite having at least a century. Shijuten Suzaku, one of his friends at Ains' old gown, was the one who introduced him to the old manga, and he had to say that it was quite delightful. But if he was here, that meant one thing for Ains, danger. Whether he liked to admit it or not, he was without a doubt the villain of his world. Not only that, the NPCs were made to be villains as well, so having someone like Naruto breathing on his neck was very concerning to the Lord of Nazarick. Worst case scenario, they would all get wiped out before they could even use one world-class item. Best case scenario, he would lose the majority of his guardians. He wasn't going to fool himself into thinking he could defeat this man, it was best to lay down and control his forces as much as possible, to avoid any sort of confrontation. Naruto-kun. Rem whispered to the shinobi as he turned to look at her. That man is staring at you. She answered him. Naruto, what did you do? Ram asked. I have no idea what you're talking about, I've never seen this man in my life. He said. He knows your name, Naruto. Maybe he wants to talk with you. Emilia said. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kaioshin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my P at Trian. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Ben Phillips.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.